Welcome everyone to another Thursday evening live stream. Bitcoin has been playing with our emotions at these levels. You see it everywhere, especially on social media right now. People flip-flopping from Bitcoin to $100,000 right away to bull market is over because there was some sort of downside pressure for more than a couple of hours. So let's take a deep breath and analyze a few different time frames, see what the heck is going on, and some levels to watch and so on. And with that, as always, let's start by zooming right out here and starting on the weekly chart here. So my thing that I've been quite open about this recently, guys, is I'm actually in the side of things where I am feeling like a little bit of a moon boy right now, to be quite honest. And this just reminds me so much of our previous market cycle where we struggled against all-time highs. Even though, yes, we are seeing this little bit of rejection at this resistance level, you have to pay attention to how we're actually being rejected here. I mean, we're not seeing a super harsh rejection or anything like that. And typically speaking, bearish moves happen like about approximately 3 times faster than bullish moves because bears love jumping out the window, right? But as it stands right now, we're just kind of tapping away at that resistance. There's no real panic coming into the market. There's talks of the SEC going after Uniswap and all sorts of shit like that. You guys know that I don't care about fundamentals like that. I never care about the news. I'm more interested in seeing when that news isn't really affecting the price all that much. When you really zoom in, I mean, nothing too crazy is happening. Yes, we're seeing a pullback on a smaller time frame, which we'll get into in a little bit. But as it goes, I think the health of this market is just beautiful. There is the chance, and obviously we have to consider this could be a bit of a swing fail. Maybe that was just a liquidity grab because we did fail at closing bodies above this all-time high here. We're seeing them now, but it is just a little bit messy. Maybe that is just me being a little bit picky, but I personally... just when I get a wick in the middle like that, it just kind of throws me off a little bit. I'm just a little less certain, usually on shorter time frames, but longer time frames we're going to have to see. But like I said, we're not really seeing that harsh rejection. In fact, right now, what I would love to see, I would get very, very bullish if we end up closing a candle body above this level, because at that point, that's where I'm actually bumping up my higher low structure of this chart. Because as it stands right now, as long as we're holding these levels, basically, I'm actually going to draw a little bit of a box here. This is the higher low level that I'm very interested in right now, and that's way down at around 50,000. We start seeing those levels, absolutely people are going to be shitting their pants thinking the bull market's over and all that sort of stuff. But I've said it time and time again, every week I talk about this, that previous bull markets, I mean, 30% corrections, 40% corrections are totally normal. You get them all the time. So, I mean, if we ended up seeing that right now, let's just see from where we've topped out right now, pulling back to that level, that's 32%. I mean, that would just make a lot of sense that we could pull back to those levels. It is something to be a little bit cautious of, or just at least be aware of. But as long as we don't lose that structure, I am still mega bullish. I mean, unless we see like a weekly candles closing below this level and we respect it as resistance at that point, if we just wick below and kind of get bought back up, closing candle bodies above, I would be looking at that as one hell of a liquidity grab. And I think it's going to be a very bullish move. But until that happens, I mean, this is very hypothetical at this point. That does not have to happen. We could just blast off through here. But as it stands right now, this is the higher low structure that I'm actually looking at. Whereas right now, and that's basically because we had, this high, that's our higher low, higher high, higher low here. So that's why I've outlined this green box here. Now, if we actually break above this red line I have here, we now set another higher high, which brings that higher low for me up to this level. So I'd actually be looking at something like that. As it stands right now, I am not considering this a higher low because we have not broken above this high. So we haven't actually confirmed that this was higher low structure. So that's something that I'm watching for. But it's not a thing quite yet, so we're going to have to see how the chart develops from here. But yeah, like I said, at that point, if that happens, then we have an even tighter invalidation level of where we'd be looking at 60,000 as being the new higher low, and that would just be so so good for the trend. I mean, it would look so beautiful to see that just staircasing higher like that. But the chart doesn't give a shit what I think, or definitely doesn't care about my opinion or feelings. So it'll do what it'll do. But those are just kind of some important levels that I'm watching for now, and basically how I'm going to be looking at it if we do invalidate these levels, right? Even if we end up, let's say this market cycle for whatever reason gets drawn out into a way longer consolidation, I could see some sort of closes below that, then getting rejected up higher, and just seeing that sort of formation and seeing a much deeper correction. But there is so many what ifs between now and then for that to happen. I don't even really like talking about that, to be honest. Just looking ahead for potential scenarios, right? Zooming into the daily chart, the 4-hour chart rather, I did have this potential pennant formation mapped out. I don't really like how we had this fake out. It's just looking a little bit messy. So, sometimes I do like looking at chart patterns more so just for, considering where we might top out and that sort of thing. But as it stands, that wasn't looking too clear. I would look for, basically when I make these lines, these are the kinds of things that I should be clear on actually, is that when I'm mapping out chart patterns, that does not mean that, we come back up to these levels, I'm just taking a blind short. That's not how I map out trend lines like this. I want to see how they're reacted with, if they're respected. So if I had something mapped out on a 4-hour example, for example, I'd be more so zooming into the 5-minute, set an alert when I want to look for liquidity grabs, swing fail patterns, whatever. I'll do something like this. So I have my trend line there to watch for, and I'll set my alert for pennant resistance. My phone will let me know once a minute if we end up hitting that trend line, just so I can kind of zoom in and see how it's being respected. Because if I get some sort of a liquidity grab, yeah, it might be a good opportunity to get into some kind of a short. If we test it a couple more times and then we end up breaking out, retesting, flipping that resistance into support, then that's where I can start looking for more of a bullish trend again. And I mean, as it stands, you guys know I am quite bullish overall, but I like to see those confirmations and just being aware of those potential rejection levels, right? So even if I'm in a nice position or something, I can at least downsize my risk, take some profits to pay myself, do whatever I have to do. So that's kind of what I'm watching right now. Actually, going back to the weekly chart, I did want to see what some of my favorite indicators are saying. Let me just clean things up a little bit. Those are the key levels that I'm currently watching. Save that up. Let's see what the trend dynamic trend collection is saying. I mean, we still actually, isn't that a beautiful thing, is that we do have this buy trend showing support right at that higher low level that I was outlining as well. So if we do happen to see that correction, that's just more added confluence that we should hopefully have support around that level. Just a few things pointing that out, right? Then if we could see some sort of a higher low W reversal warning coming into play, something like that, that would be absolutely beautiful. But we'll see what happens, right? The 4-hour, let's see what these indicators are saying. What I love to see about this is that we do have these W's trending to the upside technically. The bottom one's not in total agreement at this point, but we also have these higher buy signals. One way I love to use indicators, one of the main ways that I use indicators, is just to kind of help point out a trend. So I'm looking which way, not necessarily taking every signal individually for all that much weight, but what I'm considering is which way are they trending. So the fact that we set a higher buy signal here, that's beautiful to see to me. Another thing is just even the core trend, for example, back here, we flipped green back here, whereas this next time we're actually flipping green a little earlier, right? And then flipping green again, or a little higher rather, and then setting another higher green flip. So again, just looking at all sorts of different indicators and just basically helping me point out a trend. That's one of my favorite things to do with indicators. Nasonic, welcome. Glad you could make it. So yeah, as it stands right now, that's a couple trend lines that I'd be looking for, just seeing how they're respected. Actually, I should add an alert on the support as well. because if we hit those levels, I just want to see if they're respected, see what happens at those levels. As it stands right now, like I said, we still have this buy signal, having a little bit of hard time gaining any traction here, but we still do have this green money flow on the oscillator stack down here as well. A nice green dot here, hopefully a continuation signal there. So yeah, there's still a lot of things going for the bulls in my opinion. As far as the mid to long term, I am very bullish. I'm not all that interested in playing shorts. I've been catching the odd scalp, but I haven't taken a short in a few days now, which you guys know I am actually actively trading quite a bit because I love trading things like the 5 minute, for example. I've actually been in a long position for a couple days, which is strange for me, but Bitcoin on a shorter time frame hasn't really been doing much. We've been in this range all day today, and I'll talk about that in a sec as well. Let's zoom in a little bit further to the 1 hour. Again, just kind of looking at that potential range that we're trading in. You know, again, we're seeing these W's trending to the upside. We have these buy signals trending to the upside, so there's that, but again, we are near the top of this range, so there's just I just want to be clear on basically the bullish possibilities as well as the bearish possibilities, right? Because there's always a risk, no matter when, no matter how good a setup is. Always be ready for worst case scenario, you know. Have stop losses, have invalidation levels, try and keep your losses small, whereas you know, if you get a nice position, it's important to remember to pay yourself along the way. But that's why I never close a position entirely. You guys see me say that in the chat a lot, is that I'm very quick to close a quarter to half of my position, but then I like to leave some run because I'm not banking on a home run. But you know, if you hit it, I want to at least have something running, because those running positions become so powerful, especially when you have when this indicator gets trending, when you actually have a trending market. This thing absolutely nails it. But in a choppy range, obviously it gets a little bit harder, but that's trading in general, right? It's easy to get chopped up if you start trading a range. Oh, nice. Thanks for coming, Will. Have a good rest, dude. Yeah, so I guess at this point, that's the 1 hour. We still have those higher buy signals. W's are trending higher, looking a little bit weak, but so far it's still holding technically. We're starting to see a little bit of warning. It looks like the money flow is starting to try and flip red, as well as this little red dot. Something to be a little bit cautious of there, that maybe there is some weakness here. So if anything, you might actually get a nice pullback. I'm just looking at a potential Stuber fib entry right here. As far as this trend goes, we had this low, lower low. Actually, here, let's just delete. Let's start with a clean chart here. Clean naked chart, no indicators, nothing. Just looking at a Stuber setup here. Basically here we had this higher high. That would have been our higher low, and you can see that we lost that structure, so we started a downtrend. So we have this new lower low followed by another lower low. That makes this the current lower high of this little trend. So I'm basically looking at this as being the old resistance. And since we actually ended up breaking and getting candle bodies closing above this lower high structure on this little swing, at this point, this trend seems like it's flipped back bullish to me. But that being said, our new range actually looks something like this, right? So a lot of people would flip bearish if we lose this old resistance as support, but it's quite natural to see pullbacks into these lower fibs. You guys know, for those of you who have been in my streams a lot and just been a part of this group for more than a couple months, I'm sure you kind of know that I talk about these Stuber fibs all the time, and how natural it is that after some sort of a structure break like this, that it's quite natural to get these pullbacks into these deeper fib pockets. And that's where everyone basically starts losing faith in their positions, right? Because, I mean, it looks scary as we approach support. Support always looks scary, but support is support until it's broken. And, you know, typically speaking, I'd rather, I mean, you guys all know this, that it's better to wait for a pullback than to buy into a breakout, because breakout trading is dangerous just because invalidation is so far away, right? Because if I were to be entering a position, a long position on this because we broke this level, there's still the potential pullback. Basically, I mean, my invalidation is my 1.15 on my fibs. I always leave a little bit of wiggle room there for if there's some sort of a swing fail like that. But this is more so my target entry in this kind of a scenario. So yes, we broke this lower high structure, and now I'm looking for that pullback towards those lower fibs, just because, yeah, I mean, any trade setup is not guaranteed. I mean, I lose trades all the time, just like the next guy, but that just minimizes your risk so much, right? So that, you know, you're only losing, well, and also I ladder in these entries. So usually I'm getting my entry if I am going to get stopped out. Usually my average entry is somewhere between the 886 and the 1. And basically just a small pullback like that. So rather than, let's say, you're FOMOing in at the top, I mean, that's obviously a much further invalidation. Or you're going to cut your losses very quickly, but you're going to do it repeatedly on the way down. Because usually when people try and play a breakout like this, they're not actually leaving enough wiggle room for, you know, that potential pullback, right? So your invalidation is actually down here at this the lowest point basically before that reversal on the trend. So hopefully that all kind of makes sense. Am I hopefully yeah, let me know if anything isn't making sense. Obviously, you guys, I can go over anything, but that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as a pullback. So I mean, it's absolutely possible we come back and test these lows. I'd say, you know, later tonight or tomorrow. I would be interested in looking for long positions down here. Like I said, they might lose. I might get stopped out. That's totally fine. That's a part of trading. But yeah, I want to actually zoom in a little bit further and kind of go over my position from, well, like I said, I've been in it since yesterday. I might get stopped out fairly soon here, maybe even on stream, but this is actually a good example of me showing an invalidation, right? So basically, just going to the chart here, we had obviously this low back here at the start of this range. We had this low, and technically this low right here was very slightly lower. So I was actually looking at this as the lower high on the trend. And once we broke that is when I basically flipped bullish. And then basically to go with that, never did get that full Stuber fib pullback. But then we broke structure again, right? So then I was just looking for basically just looking at a pullback on new structure, right? Because we set higher highs and we just kind of continued the trend. So we set higher highs, higher high, that confirms higher low, another higher high, higher low. And then finally we get to this high up here. This is one that I am a little bit lenient. This is one of those situations where I'm unsure, to be honest. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's why I've updated my stop loss to lock in profits on the rest of my position if we end up breaking this structure. I'm still looking at this circled area down here as the higher low, because obviously we had this high, this higher high. Lowest point between the two is down here. That's why I have this higher low outlined. So I've basically had this range pulled for a day and a half now. Or a full day or whatever it is. I posted it in the Bitcoin chat earlier. This is what I was referring to. And I basically said, I mean, until we break out of this range, this is how my fibs are going to stay. And I just have them like this. And I've just rode out this position all day. It's been boring as hell, but you know, there was no point in me getting chopped up in this range because I was already in a nice position. And I was unsure if I had a structure break here. So basically, one thing to be cautious of is when I set a higher high, typically I like to see a candle body close above. If I'm looking at a continuation pattern like that, reversals, I let it slide a little bit more and I count wicks. So I don't know, take it for what it is. That's just me personally. when I'm looking for continuation setups, I actually want that close above. And since we never got that, I'm still just basically I adjusted my fibs a little bit, but still considering this the higher low on the trend. So yeah, basically so far today, those Stuber fibs, that full retrace, I mean, it's been holding beautifully. If you were to have taken positions based off that range, I mean, you would have hit TP1, TP2 on that setup. And as well, if you got in again down here, I mean, you would have hit TP1 at least. So I really like using that as far as trading ranges, but I was already in a bigger move position, so I wasn't really trading the range. I could have hopped on another account and done it, I guess, but I was more sidetracked by playing the memers instead for the rest of the day. So if this does count as a structure break, so here we have our high and here we have our higher high. If we are to count this, that would actually make this our higher low. And if that is the case, then we obviously drop this structure. And something interesting with that is a lot of you guys probably already know what I'm going to get at. If that was a structure break, as far as a reversal, I'd be looking for a Stuber fib. I'm personally not really interested in shorting this market, which I went over earlier. But if you were, I mean, that was a beautiful setup, right? Just a perfect Fibonacci pocket after the structure break. So whether or not that was an actual structure break, I don't know. The Stuber fib played out beautifully either way. Obviously hit TP1, TP2, and then depending what you did after that. But so there is that potential as well. We might have another one here. If this would be a low and another lower low, how close did we get on this? Yeah, look at that. Basically the 786 again. So crazy how well that pocket is respected, that whole 786 to 886, from either for resistance, for support. I mean, that's one of the basic things that I always look at, and especially to spot out when we're basically changing from a trending market to a ranging market, because a lot of people have a hard time adapting to that because you just get so stuck in the moment of playing a trending market. As soon as it starts chopping you up, I mean, it just fucks over a lot of people, right? So if you can actually point out when these ranges are trading or changing rather, that's where you can at least still play the range. And if it breaks, great. And you still have half a position running or whatever, like I was talking about how I like to trade, then great, right? But so we're gonna have to see what happens from here, I guess. As it stands, like I said, I have my stop loss just a little wiggle room past the 115 fib. That red fib is basically just a reminder for myself to not have my stop loss right next to the higher low, right? If this is the higher low structure, I'm not setting my stop loss a few dollars below, because there's always those liquidity grabs, fake outs, swing fail patterns, whatever you want to call them. So I leave myself a little bit of wiggle room there. So that's why my red dotted line stop loss is way down here. Because I would love this position to run, because like I said, on the midterm, I'm so bullish. On the long term, I'm so bullish that I have taken a bunch of this position off the table already. I do only have half the position running, but I want to have a running long position, because I just feel like it's only a matter of time until we see some sort of a big move. Just because, like what I was saying, we've just been tapping away at this all-time high resistance. And when we go back, this was last cycle. I remember the market feeling just like this. I was definitely involved back here. And it was 1, 2, 3. On the fourth week, we ended up blasting through that resistance. Market cycles typically slow down. So, I mean, we've been trading at all-time highs for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks now, kind of fighting with this level. So, I mean, I think that makes sense, and I would not be surprised to see some sort of a breakout. But like I said, as far as the weekly time frame, we get a weekly candle close above this wick here, I think we're off to the races. So, and if that happens, I would love to have a running long position, and I would be looking to play a lot of bullish Stuber fib setups in the not too distant future if we do get that. I would have, if we break above this level, I have, with closes, like even a 4-hour close, something like that, especially a weekly close, I won't be shorting this market for a while. Unless I'm actively scalping and like watching my position and sitting at the computer and just feel like taking a little one kind of a thing. But if we break that level, I have zero interest in shorting this market for probably the rest of 2024, to be honest. Those big pullbacks will happen. Might take a stab at the odd swing fail. Not overly interested. If anything, it's going to be hedges. I'm going to be trying to be having running long positions, and if we get near resistance or get some kind of swing fail, I would love to have a hedge short just in case to protect myself. But and this is not financial advice, do your own research, form your own opinions. Everyone trades the markets differently. I myself know that I am just favoring the bullish side for most of this year. I just have a feeling we're going to have a very strong trending market. It just feels so much like back here. Sentiment in social media, how the charts are acting, just all of it feels so familiar to me. And maybe that's me being cocky and being overconfident, and that's what's going to wreck me. But I don't know, as long as you have proper risk management, right? I mean, in proper invalidation levels and stuff. Yeah, I think that there's going to be strong bullish momentum this year. Just a feeling. Oh, thanks for coming, Eve. Have yourself a good sleep. Let's hop into some shitties. You know, a lot of us have probably seen this "Don't Fuck This Up" coin. Has been quite popular in the group lately. Nice big market cap. Apparently they're doing giveaways fairly soon and doing a big token burn and stuff. And I like the fact that, you know, we had this rising wedge, but we broke the hell up, broke the hell out to the upside. So, I don't know. It sounds fairly promising, but to be honest, again, guys, I want to be clear. I am not a fundamental guy. I basically read charts, and anything in the DeFi space, looking at Solana meme coins and stuff, I'm looking at all of them as a gamble. So consider that if you are getting into the degen meme coins and stuff like that. Understand that a lot of them just absolutely nuke to nothing. So just be vigilant with your position sizing and stuff like that when you get into these things. Munch is another one. I actually bought some yesterday. Down at, what was it, 12? It was just under 13. I think it was right around here. I bought some Munch yesterday. Obima was another one. PUPS has been one of my best well, it has absolutely been my best performer, because I bought this at, I think it was $5.60. This wick doesn't actually show it. It doesn't show it on the 1 hour, but the price of this definitely got over $120. But I basically sold most of mine at $50 and then $100. And then I ended up buying some back at about 20, and I sold some today at about 64. So another 3x out of it. But I think this one is one of the first meme coins on the ordinals, the whole ordinals situation or whatever. So I think there's some hype around it. It does have a $45 million market cap, so it's actually getting to be serious money. But yeah, that's been my best performer, a 25x and then a 3x. So couldn't complain with that. Got to take a look at Obima as well, because that's one that I keep just basically taking range plays, because it does create quite large ranges. Ooh, it's actually looking pretty weak after that breakout. But this thing has loved to do some nice big breakouts in the past, and it forms these big ranges. So I just kind of buy a little bit on the way down, selling a little bit on the way up. Just one of the meme coins that I'm following. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all trash. But Rocky's another one. Kind of disappointed to see that we have a lower sell signal and lower buy signal on Rocky on the 1 hour. What's the 4 hour looking like? Lower sell signal on the 4 hour, higher buy signal. So, I mean, a little bit of mixed signals there, but that's another one. I think it's like a $2 million market cap or something like that. And I know a lot of people in the group are into. So, I mean, as far as a pullback goes, absolutely beautiful. No idea if it's going to recover or not, but I mean, better to be buying at the lows than FOMOing in at the top, right? Peng, I can check out Peng. I kind of forgot about that one, which I shouldn't, because that one, I think I ended up getting an 11x out of Ping. What do we got going on here? As far as structure goes, this is the 1 hour chart. So as far as the structure of this trend goes right now, I'd be looking at it something like this. So we have a high here, higher high here. So our higher low is actually this structure back here. Let me just draw a little box. So as long as we stay above that support box, I think it looks quite good. Let's actually check out some fibs, see if well, I can see that we already hit a Stuber fib, but yeah, 786, almost the 886, but obviously we would have hit at least the first TP. I actually, let me just change this because these are just different than I normally have them set up. I can't remember what the other one is, but either way, TP1 would have been hit already. But yeah, as it stands, just again, using these fibs basically to point out a range, right? So depends if you're looking at kind of playing the range and just doing a little bit of spot trading. And this is kind of the range that I'm looking at. And as long as we hold above the lows here, I mean, it's still technically in an uptrend on the 1 hour. See if I can find any sort of random trend line here. Yeah, we have a little bit of an upward sloping support line here that would also end up lining up with the bottom of that range. So that's interesting as well. Just a little bit of confluence, right? Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Vanry, what is this? Is it on this? Nasonic, is that this one here? Oh, a normie market view. I see. What kind of time frame you want to look at? A few? I have a feeling it's starting a downtrend, but I mean, we'll have to see what the market does, right? 4 hour to the 1 hour. Okay, let's just start with a naked chart here. You know, it does kind of look like we have a bit of a falling wedge, which we all know is typically a bullish pattern. Does not have to be. Ooh, that's actually that's interesting. If that wedge is going to play out like right now, would be a beautiful buy. Obviously, if we break below this support and flip it into resistance, that could be quite bad. But as it stands, as far as, I mean, like I said, it looked like a falling wedge to me. I didn't realize just how close to the support we were there. That's interesting. What are the indicators saying here? Indicator looking like it's showing a bit of resistance here, and it really does look like that even now if we flip to a buy signal, it would be a higher buy. But typically speaking, I mean, I like market structure before indicators. I'm kind of looking at the indicators for confirmations and that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know, mixed signals, right? Because the indicators, a lot of them are pointing towards bearish momentum. But again, as far as a tight scalp goes, or just a tight entry in general, even if it's spot, whatever, we are trading near a nice potential falling wedge support there. Even if we ended up dropping it and then reclaiming it, that would also be bullish in my opinion. It's just that just something to watch for is if we end up dropping that support and starting to look like we're getting rejected there. That's where things could get a little bit dicey. As well, let's actually remove the patterns here, the wedge, and let's go straight up, higher low, lower low, kind of just basic market structure. So as far as this 4 hour trend goes, where we topped out here, I'm going to consider this a high just because we had this little rejection here followed by this higher high. Yeah, pretty good writing there. This was our higher low. So we actually, I mean, until here, actually, yeah, we totally ended up breaking that level, right? So the fact that we dropped this higher low structure with actual closes and that sort of thing, where would our trend have gone from there? We would have had this low and then a lower low. Interesting. We actually got a break in that trend, and then we still ended up dropping lower. Let's just see how we're looking right now. I mean, as far as this being a lower low, that would mean that our lower high is actually would be this structure up here. That red line is basically where I'd be looking at a lower high structure, because we had this low, lower low. Highest point between the two is right at this level. So if we can get, if that wedge does play out, and honestly that does look like a nice wedge to me, the fact that it goes from our higher low structure and respects so many touch points like that, and then almost finding a little double bottom here, I do like the looks of that, and I would not be too surprised to see us end up breaking back above this level. And if we do get that, then it looks like a change in structure to me. I think if we reclaim that level, it's absolutely possible we would pull back, but I think that would confirm that change in structure where it would start trending to the upside again. Like there is this lower high, lower low structure to be cautious of or just be aware of, but the fact that we have this beautiful support holding so clearly and being respected so well, I don't think all hope is lost yet, especially if the market is going to recover quite nicely. Then I think we would end up reversing this trend fairly quickly. So gonna have to see what happens there, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. Hopefully that makes sense. Actually, let's take a look at the 1 hour. Again, I mean, obviously, same thing. The structure doesn't change, right? So we can see that we're clearly just testing that support. Let's see if the indicators have flipped earlier or anything like that. Kind of the same thing, right? We are still seeing a downtrend with a lot of the indicators. So core trend, same thing, showing resistance. So yeah, it's definitely got its risks. But like I said, that's a pretty tight invalidation if it ends up getting rejected. Like I said, get a fake out, that's totally different. That would be bullish as hell in my opinion. Chart setup question. I have the dynamics, the collection, and the trend. I have the following: collection, auto charting, volume delta, and an options on the indexes from another provider. I trade equities and options as well. Can you let me know if I should update this MDX indicators to the ones you have here? Honestly, when it comes to indicators, everyone has their own thing that works for them, right? Everybody likes different indicators. Everybody likes trading different shapes and patterns and time frames and everything, because if we have, I mean, I can guarantee you, if we had the same trend lines, the same indicators, the same settings, and absolutely everything identical, we would trade the market completely different. So that's where backtesting kind of comes into play, and just whatever indicators that you personally like. These are just the ones that I've grown to love. Honestly, this trend dynamic, it's a little bit of a different version. This is an updated version, but one of the first indicators I fell in love with in this group like 2 years ago, that's basically what it was. I had a lot of different settings. Right now I have it very bare bones, just because I'm just basically using it for the beautiful colors and the direction of the W's. the reversal warnings. And then I use the trend collection, again, just kind of noticing which way signals are trending and that sort of thing. So it really depends what you like. And that's where backtesting comes in, right? If you ever want to really figure out your mathematical odds of what a certain trade setup that you seem to see that like, hey, I always see this in the charts. Go back and use your replay feature on TradingView, and you can go back and pretend the chart is live and just pretend trade it and just see how often those setups do play out, right? So it doesn't really matter what indicators you're using, just whatever works for you. But yeah. I have used that volume delta a little bit. I don't have it up right now. Once in a while I do bring it up. Very cool features on that as well. And the auto charting I actually do have up quite often because actually let me bring that up. Or no, I probably have it there. I do actually, I'm going to get rid of this green box. We already know why it's there. I'm actually going to clean up this chart a lot and just map out those same fibs. There, nice clean chart. Look at that Stuber fib providing support again, whether or not it actually plays out. The thing is, when I set these fibs, I always find that it's like the immediate reaction of those levels is what I have most faith in, just because so often they are tested at least once. Whereas once we start testing these over and over and over, that's where I kind of start to lose faith in those setups. The structure is still favoring this type of a setup, yes, but just as we tap away again, right? But yeah, we can see an obvious reaction at this Stuber fib level. And quite often I'll use these Stuber or the auto charting tools, even just if I'm looking for Fibonacci's, for example, right? Just they help outline pivotal points. So even in this type of situation, these signals always print late. I don't know what the confirmation is, but here would be a perfect example, right? We had this higher low confirmation by the indicator here. When we pulled back, look at that. Would you just look at it? Perfectly filled that 786, 886. So just that's one way I love to use that auto charting tools. I really do like that, but I usually use it more so when I'm scalping, more so than looking at altcoins and stuff, but mostly just because I forget about having certain indicators up sometimes. Yeah, everything I go over tonight so far clear as mud. You guys need anything repeated or anything like that? Anything you want me to touch on a little more, or any other questions in general? I am planning to take off in about 5 minutes here. I actually have some stuff I want to get done tonight here. But happy to stick around for a few minutes yet. Hopefully you guys were able to pull some useful information out of this stream. Yeah, anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you found this stream useful. For those of you who will be watching this on my YouTube channel, actually that's something I should mention to you guys since there is a few people new with me. I do have my own YouTube channel here, just a small one where I do post my own analysis sometimes, usually just these streams, but I also do my own shorter videos sometimes, little 10-15 minute videos, so be sure to check me out there. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you are interested in some of my favorite indicators here, as well as access to the VIP Discord with live streams such as these put on by not only myself, but also a handful of other very knowledgeable traders in the group, as well as if you need access to a no KYC exchange to get your DGen on, I have a couple links in the description down below for discounts and so on. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.